Today's episode is part 2, or our second age group triathlete in a bit of a new series that I've started all about how age group triathletes train and eat. And it is my pleasure to introduce you to Jules, or Julie Whitton. She is based in New South Wales, Australia, and is a paramedic for New South Wales Ambulance Service. So she's been a shift worker for around 18 years. Now, when you try and train for 3 sports and balance shift work, there's a lot of balls in the air and a lot of things you've got to juggle to fit everything into your life. So she has a really interesting perspective on how she manages training for herself with no set rhythm and routine and, shifts that can be all over the shop, including overnight, and then how she manages her nutrition to support both shift working and her love of the sport of triathlon. She's been doing triathlon for 10 years, which means she's definitely learnt a thing or two about what works for her, what definitely doesn't work for her. And I think it's really nice to hear how you would go about meshing those two things together. She joined the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program back in January 2023, so she's just finishing off phase 3. She's also just done Western Sydney and is preparing for Hervey Bay 100 soon. Now, I very much threw her in the deep end of podcasting. Jules has never done anything like this before. And you'll hear she very much is a silent achiever and a self-professed introvert. So please give her a round of applause for sharing her story with us today. Welcome to the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast, the show designed to serve you up evidence-based sports nutrition advice from the experts. Hi, I'm your host, Taryn, accredited practicing dietitian, advanced sports dietitian, and founder of Dietitian Approved. Listen as I break down the latest evidence to give you practical, easy to digest strategies to train hard, recover faster, and perform at your best. You have so much potential, and I want to help you unlock that with the power of nutrition. Let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast, Jules.
Hey, Taryn. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast. I know it's not the easiest thing to do.
No, it's my first time, so looking forward to it.
Oh, well, you'll be a pro after this one. So what I wanted to do was get you to share your journey as a triathlete and as an age grouper. One of the things that's really unique about you is that you are a shift worker, and there are a lot of people that do triathlon that are shift workers, ambulance workers, police officers. I've seen so many over my time, and I know that you've got some really good strategies that you can share with us. But before we get into that, how did you find and fall in love with the crazy sport of triathlon?
When I was a young kid, my dad did triathlons for a couple of years. So that started me in the Milo triathlons when I was about 10. I remember doing one of them, and then life happened, changed. I got married, had my daughter, and then after I had her, I wanted to get my fitness back. And I tend to get bored just doing one thing, but I absolutely love running. So I decided to get back into triathlon. Signed up for a pink triathlon down in Melbourne. That was in January 2013. So I did that one and just loved it. Absolutely loved it out on course, trained through winter, did the Nepean triathlon that year, and just got hooked and kept doing it ever since.
It is a crazy addictive sport, isn't it?
Yeah, the actual feeling I get on race day is what drives me. I just absolutely love being out on course, the energy out there, and going from swimming to riding and then to finish off with a run. I can't actually put a finger on it. I absolutely just love it.
It's not the endorphin rush?
That's probably it as well. Constantly chasing that endorphin rush, that adrenaline, and just that feeling you get.
I love that feeling as well. I think I'm properly addicted to exercise for that reason, like just how good you feel after exercise. It's so different to somebody that doesn't exercise. They don't kind of get it, but triathletes definitely get it.
Yeah, and I can't get that any other way. Like I finish a training session, finish a race, and you're just on a high. I'm sure there's other ways to get it, but that exercise high and the feeling afterwards keeps me going. So I spent a number of years building myself up through the standard distance event. And then I had a go at the half Ironman. And I think the distance of that suited me. I liked the long training sessions. So I switched my primary focus to that, and that's my preferred distance now.
Okay, so that's your happy place at 70.3?
Yeah.
How do you feel about full distance Ironman?
I have never done one. I will do one in the future, but at the moment, it's not the right time for me. When I go to a full distance race and watch it live, or when I watch it online, watching the finish line, it gives me that same rush, and I want to be out there. But there's a few other things in life now that take priority over the training required to do that distance. So it's on the table, but not in the plan yet.
That's really smart. We tend to just go, what's next and what's next and what's next. And particularly if you've got people around you that are like, you could do it, Ironman. And we end up doing them earlier than we're maybe ready for mentally or physically. And it's maybe not that endorphin rush that you are looking for or searching for. And I think it's smart to just hit pause on plans, knowing that you'll do it when you are ready.
Yeah, I can definitely get that rush from the half Ironman. I can manage it, the training load with work and family. I can manage all that to step it up to a full Ironman. Not so much the race itself, but the training required for it is just not the right time yet.
Yeah, different kettle of fish. How do you, as a shift worker, as an ambo, how do you fit training into that sort of crazy weekly rhythm?
I have an exceptionally understanding and practical coach who looks at my roster that changes regularly, and he plots it out for me. I work on a 9-day week rather than the standard 7-day week. So I'll do 4 shifts, which are a couple of day shifts and then an afternoon and a night shift that varies. And then I have 5 days off. So we'll look at doing a couple of shorter sessions on my work days, usually factoring in a rest day on one of them as well. And then maybe half hour in the morning before my day shifts that requires an early start. And then before an afternoon shift, I might get 1 or 2 hours done before I go to work, finish at midnight, get some sleep, do another session in the morning, and then get an afternoon nap before my night shift. The day after my night shift is always a rest day because that allows me to sleep. Then I've got 4 days where I can do uninterrupted training. So that's when we'll plan my longer sessions or morning, afternoon sessions. So there's nothing consistent with my training. There's no run Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. There's no swim squads, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's no long rides every Sunday morning or wind trainer sets on Wednesday mornings. There's nothing consistent about that. But what I do have is 9 days where I know exactly what I'm doing in regards to work. And then my coach switches things around and factors in my sleep more than I do and factors in my recovery more than I do, and then fills in the blanks.
What a legend. That's what you need.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it on my own. When I have trained without him, I've just done the same thing all the time and usually overtrain, which is quite a common theme. But yeah, he pulls me in line.
That's really good. You need somebody to be accountable to, but also somebody to kind of be outside of that box to go, that's silly, Jules, or let's do it this way. It's so much easier to just follow a plan when you have someone doing all that thinking, because your brain definitely doesn't work sleep deprived, and you're probably going to make a different decision after a night shift and be like, I feel pretty good, I'm going to go train. But it's really smart to prioritize sleep, prioritize recovery, and then go and do some quality training.
Yeah. When I was a bit younger, I did push through and didn't get as much sleep as what I should. But yeah, now that the years are starting to catch up, sleep is definitely the priority, and I feel it as well. I know my training suffers when I don't sleep properly, and it's just not quality. And when you're not doing quality, it's just not worth it.
Amen. So for people listening, what are your shifts involved? Do you do 12-hour shifts? Do you do 16-hour shifts? What does a shift look like?
Our day shifts are either 6:45 to 7 p.m. or we might do a 6 till 6 shift. And then our afternoon shift is going to be 10:45 till 11 p.m. Our night shift is 6:45 p.m. until 7 a.m. the next morning.
Yep. So that was a 10:45 a.m. start till 11 p.m. in the evening.
Yes. That is the tricky one because you wake up at a normal time, think you've got a couple of hours in the morning to do training, and then you go and do a 12-hour, 15-minute shift and finish at 11 p.m. if you finish on time. And then you get home and try and get some sleep. So I'm pretty lucky. I'm a good sleeper and I generally can go to sleep pretty quickly. But there's obviously times with work that it might take some time to wind down from work. If you had a job that's caused a bit of an adrenaline rush at that 10 p.m. time at night, it can take some time to come down from that.
Yeah, and really interesting to be mindful of that too. How far in advance do you get your roster and your shifts to know, can I do this event or can I not do this event, or am I going to be able to fit this training into this block?
Our roster goes for 9 weeks at a time, but it only gets approved 1 week out. So prior to that, it's a draft. So if there was an event at the end of the roster, I know 8 or 9 weeks in advance whether I'm going to be able to do it. But if there's an event on the first weekend of the roster, it's a bit tight. I'm very fortunate that I have a really good management team around me that I can generally factor in doing a race and rostering according to that. Anything a few days prior to a race, I'll have a chat to the management team around me and see if I can do a different shift to be able to have that one off. It just helps the fatigue levels and puts me in the best place possible for it. So because races are so far in advance, they're planned so far in advance, I'm very particular with planning and organising myself. So I'll know what I want to do and then I'll set myself up for work to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's good. Planning ahead, you can't really commit to a 70.3 a few weeks out. Like, it's a long-term thing. And so I was just wondering if you had any strategies like that you've learnt about yourself to not do a night shift the night before a race. Is there any other things in your schedule and your roster that you know you need if you want to have a really good training session, or if you know that you're doing a race? Anything you have to kind of manipulate around shift work to get that right, to set yourself up to toe the start line in the best possible shape?
There's not much I can do in regards to like a weekly roster factor, but one strategy I've got now is to take an annual leave block very soon before the race. So my coach suggested have a 3-week annual leave block a couple of weeks before a race. And then that way I can focus solely on training, nutrition, sleep for 3 weeks uninterrupted. Go back to work, do a couple of shifts, which forces a natural taper, and then go and do the race. So I can do that. That seems to be working well. And then try and get as many days off as possible before the race, and also make sure I've got a couple of days off after the race. So I'm not rushing back to work. I can take the time after the race, recover properly, travel properly, and then get back to work after having a couple of days of good nutrition and good rest.
Yeah, super important. Like, your nutrition doesn't finish at the finish line. You've got to actually extend that thinking and extend that planning beyond crossing the finish line so that you are recovering properly, but also you're not impacting your immune system and getting sick and injured in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. Previous years, I've packed up after the race, got in the car, driven home. Sometimes that drive will be, up to 8-10 hours. So knowing what I know now from the academy, I won't be doing that. I'll be allowing myself time to get proper nutrition in and continue that for the couple of days afterwards as well.
Yeah, super important. What do you think has been some of the biggest challenges for you doing triathlon and shift work and getting your nutrition right for a very variable training program?
Definitely the inconsistency with eating times at work. Days off are easy. I can manage that. That's up to me. But at work, we've got no way of predicting or knowing when the phone's going to ring. People get sick when they get sick. They get hurt when they get hurt. So just because I want to eat a snack at 10:30 doesn't mean I'm going to be able to. There's been uncountable times, numerous times over the years where I've missed meals, and that's just something you have to manage, which obviously doesn't bode well for your next training session if you've missed a meal. That is just the way it is. Eating early before the shift, you have to do that. That might be breakfast at 5 a.m., which by the time you get to 8 a.m., when most people are eating breakfast, you're already hungry again. But if you don't, then you could miss breakfast as well. So the ability to have lunch at 12:30 is not guaranteed. You could be having lunch at 3 p.m. And also finishing work at 7 p.m. makes it a bit difficult to manage dinner. So either wing it and hopefully have dinner at 6 if you get lucky. But most of the time I just wait till I get home for dinner, which is either 7:30 or 8 p.m. at night. Or if I am late home, which is a reasonably regular occurrence as well, it could be 8:30, 9 o'clock before you're eating dinner. So there are long stretches, possibly without eating a meal.
Is there anything you can do to manage that? Like, can you keep things in your pocket or have stuff in the car to sneak in between?
Yeah, definitely. I need to eat. I love my food and I'm not a very nice person to be around when I'm hungry. So I always have easy, quick meals. Keep a little cooler bag with me in the car and have something that I can eat on the way to a job. So I might only get like 5 or 10 minutes to eat it, but that's enough to have half a sandwich. So anything that's easy to eat in your hand is good. I try and avoid the yogurt while I'm at work because, if it doesn't stay cool, it doesn't stay good. So yeah, it's just a case of having a wide variety of food that you can eat easily.
Yeah, and on the go and quickly, even though it's not ideal, it's better than nothing.
That's the thing. And giving yourself a bit of forgiveness as well. Obviously, there's an ideal way to eat, then there's a practical way to eat, and then there's this sort of range where it's not quite right, but it's what I actually just need to do on this day in this moment to get through. And when you can forgive yourself for that, that makes everything a little bit easier and just takes that weight off your shoulder.
That's a really important message, I think, particularly as high-performing triathletes who just want to do everything perfectly all the time. But sometimes done is better than perfect. And if that's going to make you a happier person to be around and your brain's going to work for work and you're still doing a good job of recovery and things like that, done is better than perfect.
Yeah, I've spent so many years, like a lot of female athletes, so many years worried about what I'm eating, how I'm looking. It's gotten me into trouble a few times. So now it's just, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing for me. This is what works for me at this time. And that's okay.
Yeah, and put your blinkers on, not getting distracted by other people and what they're doing. You just got to actually figure out you and your nutrition because it's so individual and you're a different kettle of fish with everything that you juggle. So it's good that you've figured out a lot of those strategies to help you and then giving yourself a leave pass for when it's not perfect too, which sounds like it's been almost like revolutionary in your thinking around food and nutrition. So what are some of the things that have changed for you over the last 9 months? You're almost finished the academy program, almost an alumni, put the big girl pants on.
Recovery nutrition, definitely. I always knew you needed to eat something and drink something straight after a session, but I didn't know what. So I've learned all my ratios were wrong. I had my timing right. I just didn't have what I was actually having. I was not having enough protein. I was having too many carbs and sometimes not enough carbs. So getting that ratio right has been a real eye-opener.
There's a reason that I put recovery first up week 1, like day 1, because most people don't know how to do it properly. And it's really easy to fix. You just need to know a framework for you. And then we've got the whole time to keep tweaking it and practicing it and perfecting it.
Yeah, and having a few different options up your sleeve as well. Yeah, being aware of those different ratios. The next one would be pre-training fueling. So again, I knew I needed to eat something before training. But I just thought a banana was enough. So I just had my banana, go on my way, thinking I was doing everything right. Apparently not. And then knowing when to eat, when to fuel, and what sessions not to. And then with that knowledge, being able to choose when to fuel and when not to fuel based on what I've got coming up. So obviously in the off season, we might not fuel that particular training session, but because we're 3 weeks out from a race, we want to get some stuff in there as well. And that's obviously helped me with my gut training issues as well. Being able to run with food in the gut has been a really good experience, and it's definitely helping. So eating the right thing, the right time, the right amount, and learning different options for that has been a big help.
Are you a triathlete sick of fumbling around in the dark with your nutrition? Is nutrition the missing link in helping you reach your goals? And do you want to maximise your training efforts and level up your performance? Of course you do! Come and join me for free at Fuel School. It's a free 3-day live and online nutrition training week. And I've designed it to give you the nutritional edge in 2024 and lay the foundation of your day-to-day fueling and race nutrition. It's on the 14th to the 16th of January, 9 a.m. Brisbane time, so Australian Eastern Standard Time every day, which is 3 p.m. PST, 5 p.m. CST and 6 p.m. EST on the 13th to the 15th of January. To register, head to fuel.school. Yep, www.fuel.school. Whether you're a seasoned triathlete or just starting your nutrition journey, this free event is your opportunity to learn from an advanced sports dietitian and triathlon nutrition specialist and transform the way you approach your nutrition for 2024. Fuel.school, it's free. I'll see you there. What's been the biggest shift in that space for you from what you're doing before versus what you're doing now?
The amount. So I always just ate a banana or a couple of teaspoons of some sustagen. So now I'm eating the full amount of carbohydrates that I need and not having any issues.
There you go. How long did it take you to get there?
Probably 6 months.
I think that's good to highlight because nutrition's not a thing that can change overnight, particularly if you're used to doing something and you've done it for 10 years. You can't suddenly go, all right, now I'm going to do this and it's all going to be smooth sailing. Your gut is super trainable. So whatever you were doing, it is just used to that. And then if we want to shake it up, it is going to take a little bit of time for us to adapt and deal with that. So I think it's good for people to hear that that change is a 6-month process. It's not a quick fix. This is shifting overnight and we're going to be perfectly dialed in with everything after week 1.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing process as well. Like I'm definitely not 100% there. Still learning and still practicing different things as well. Trying not to practice too much at the moment, being race season, but yeah, definitely there's a few things I'll tweak during the off season and try different things, which is what I can do confidently with the knowledge that I've got now.
Yeah, amazing. So pre-training and recovery are the 2 big things. Is there anything else?
Yeah, carb loading as well. I've never eaten a bowl of pasta before the race, like the night before. I used to just have chicken, rice and veggies for dinner and a couple of sports drinks leading like the day before. That's what I thought carb loading was.
Yep.
So now I haven't had many opportunities to practice it, but I know my numbers now and I'm building my way up slowly.
Yeah, cool. Most people think that just throwing a few extra bowl of pasta or something for dinner is carb loading, and it is definitely nowhere near what we need to actually like physically super compensate up those muscle glycogen stores. So that's definitely another big sort of steep learning curve into how to actually do that properly. And then, like you said, it is something that does take time to practice and tweak and evolve over the years too.
Yeah, and I think that one's going to take more than 6 months, because when to do it is obviously you can do it in training, but yeah, there's not many training sessions you do that are going to be the length of the full race. So practice in training, but yeah, really you can only practice it leading into a race. So that one's going to take a few years to really nail.
Yeah, and that's okay. So 3 big things.
Yeah, they're my 3. Obviously, every week I'm learning something new, but yeah, they're the 3.
Okay, cool. I always just like to know. It's for my own personal enjoyment.
Yeah, the race nutrition, obviously, again, that's another one to practice each race with some different targets, but that one I'll get to practice in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So what's next on the cards for you? What's the grand plans for 2024 and beyond?
So 2024 is looking at, again, primary focus for half Ironman. I don't have any races locked in at the moment, but there's definitely some on the radar. Primarily ones I've either done before and I enjoy, or ones I haven't done before that have been on the radar for some time. So definitely looking at Huskisson. I've never raced Husky before, and I'll probably go out to Hell of the West again. I really like it out there. That's the start of the year.
Like suffering in the heat.
I like the country dry heat. So, yeah, that's my spot out there. And then, the back end of 2024, not sure yet. I'll just have a look at what races are around and see what I feel like. In saying that, obviously, we always want to improve. So I'll keep training to become quicker and try and move myself from that middle group up into the top of the middle. With my training load and time, I don't think I'm ever going to be at the top of the age group, but I still want to improve myself and, get as quick as I can.
Yeah, you don't have to win to have a good time and to improve. Everyone's different, and some people it's getting on the podium and some people it's just finishing the damn thing.
Yeah, so I just want to do better. Like there's a few races I've got unfinished business at, so I'll see how close I can get to that business.
Okay, nice. I feel like you get a little fire in your belly from some of those things, ready to go.
Yeah, definitely.
You're a quiet little achiever, I think. There's like a fire burning in there, but you don't necessarily let that on.
Yeah, I'm definitely an introvert. Keep a lot of things to myself, but definitely some goals there. And like you said, that fire, but I'll work on that and tick them off myself.
Love it. What's the grand plan? Like, can you see or have you got any goals in mind around anything beyond what you're doing that you're happy to share with us?
The grand plan is to continue in this sport for as long as I can. This sport for me isn't a 2 or 3 year process and then move on to something else. I love the lifestyle around it. I love the activity around it. I love how it makes me feel. I love the time it gives to me for myself. So, there's definitely a few extended goals there, but it's just going to take some work to get there. So maybe in a few years' time.
Okay. Very, very cagey around what they are. Don't want it going public on the podcast, which is totally fine.
I'll tell people when I've achieved them.
I love it. I love it. You kind of compete with yourself and it's all about you, which is really nice. As an individual sport, it is just you and the road. And it's hard to have a community or a squad when you're doing crazy shifts of work. So is a lot of your training on your own?
Yeah, most of it actually. There's times where I can get to a swim squad. There's times where I can get to a run group. Cycling's the biggest one that I have to do on my own. One of my friends who's the next level above me, when she's not 100% training, when I'm full training, I can just keep up with her. So we might be able to get a couple of rides in together then. Often we'll swim together, but most of the time during the season, it's just catch up for coffee. But generally everything's done on my own, which I actually like. It sets me up good for race day because, when you're on that start line, even though there's people around you, it is just a race against myself. So can't draft out on course. It's just you. So if I can train with just me, then mentally, that's going to be really good for me on race day. But having said that, I do train better swimming and running with a group. It's just one of those things with my type of work and my roster and my inconsistencies that I can't get to. So I've never trained with a group consistently properly because the entire time I've been doing triathlon, I've also been a paramedic working the roster I am. So nothing has changed.
You balance a lot. I'm super impressed. For anyone that manages shift work and triathlon, hats off to you. It's a lot of balls in the air constantly. And if you've got a good coach that can be really practical around that and understand what your life is like, then that's going to set you up so much better for success in trying to like shove a square into a circle hole. It's never going to work.
Yeah, he's got no ears left after I just chew them off all the time. Every time I get a few weeks out from a race, I'll send him an email and say, it's all falling apart. Stress levels through the roof, don't know what to do. And he's just got this ability to take a step back and, even a couple of sentences on an email really just pulls things back into perspective for me. Gives me an objective look, whereas obviously I'm right in the thick of it. And he's just got this way of pulling it back and say, you're right, but have a look at these things. Think about this factor. I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah. You just sometimes need an outside voice.
Yep.
To help you see through the weeds.
Yeah. And I've been working with him for 10 years now. So he really understands me and my work and my time available. And I'll say to him, I need to do more training. And he'll be like, when?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Find some time.
Yeah. I'm like, just give it to me. And he's like, you don't have time, but you can do this instead. I'm like, okay.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
So has your training changed at all as your nutrition has changed to kind of juggle all of those things, or has it stayed relatively similar?
My training hasn't changed, but my ability to recover from it has. Whereas before I would be extremely fatigued and I would struggle to do the next session, now I've got the nutrition to back it up and I can function and do each training session that's needed to. So there's still a little bit of sleep factor in there, but from a nutrition point of view, I'm backing up the training, whereas I wouldn't have been able to before.
Yeah, perfect. That's so good. Well, thank you so much for sharing your triathlon journey with us, Jules. I know that podcasting with me is not your comfort zone, but I like to get my athletes out of their comfort zones with nutrition, but also things like this.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I look forward to seeing what you do silently in 2024 and beyond, but we might hear about it after the fact.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
If you do want to join us inside the Academy, we are opening doors again in January. So jump on the wait list at dietitianapproved.com/academy. Thanks, Jules.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining me for this episode of the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast. I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions or want to share with me what you've learnt, email me at podcast@dietitianapproved.com. You could also spread the word by leaving me a review and taking a screenshot of you listening to the show. Don't forget to tag me on social media at dietitian.approved so I can give you a shout out too. If you want to learn more about what we do, head to dietitianapproved.com. And if you want to learn more about the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program, head to dietitianapproved.com/academy. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to helping you smash it in the fourth leg. Nutrition!